Coming up on Verse Course Verse, if you're going to talk ska punk, there are few bands more beloved than Less Than Jake. I guess we better chat about them, right?
Yeah.
That's next.
Frustrations down the drain, out of the way. So I sit and wait and wonder, does anyone else feel like me? Someone so tired of their routines and disappearance for schemes. I'll sing along.
Welcome to Verse Chorus Verse, episode 127, I think. Who knows? I may have to change this. Rachel, sweaty shirt, Pezcore, polio. How you doing today?
I'm so anxious.
You
I should
are.
put on more deodorant.
Why are you so anxious?
Because I'm going to meet one of my heroes.
We are going to talk about Less Than Jake and to a member of Less Than Jake. Rachel is so excited.
I'm so excited.
Her hair is high. She's got a Less Than Jake shirt on.
I'm ready.
That covers part of what we have to talk about right there. They're from Gainesville.
They are from Gainesville.
How are you doing today besides nervous?
That is it. That is my whole day.
Just
That is all I've
nervous.
been feeling all day.
This is your first interview.
I know.
We've had the pleasure of getting to, because of some, calendar shifts, it's been spread out really long.
Yeah.
So you've gotten to be nervous for 2 months?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was just nervous the week before because I got nervous the instant you told me it was happening in December. But then when you're like, hey, it's happening, I got nervous probably the week of the interview. And then it got moved, anxious again this week, but really yesterday and today.
You're going to do fine.
It's going to be fine.
Just pretend like you like them and talk about that,
I'll see what I can do.
and it'll go well. We are here on a Thursday day. Let's get this out of the way first. It might be not so entertaining, but we don't care because we have to stay on our ones and our twos. Probably also have to function for the rest of the day after this. So It might be the most important part of the day. It might not be that entertaining. Rachel, what are you drinking?
Water. Here's the thing.
I mean,
I have a kid and the kid has a haircut in a couple hours. And I really wanted to grab a Four Loko and be like, Florida. But I thought,
drink it
I talked-
and then give your kid a haircut.
I talked to Vince and he's like, don't do that. please don't do that.
With the nerves that you are feeling, do you even think that the alcohol would affect you?
Probably not. No, it'd probably
It's
just
just
burn it off.
blow right through your yeah. So same here. I'm just drinking coffee. It's freaking noon, man. It's noon on a Thursday. All
Yeah.
right, we have to function,
Sorry, guys.
and we got to have our wits about us
Yeah.
for this one. So who are we interviewing today, Rachel?
We're interviewing JR, Less Than Jake.
JR, sax player extraordinaire by Less Than Jake. One of the first things I'm going to ask him is if he prefers to go by Peter or JR. His real first name's Peter.
Right.
I'm guessing that they changed him to JR because there's two Petes in the band.
There were at the time, so they called him Pete Jr.
Oh, good job, stats.
Thanks.
Okay. 1992, ska punk band out of Gainesville, Florida. They hit at basically the perfect time. Pre-swing,
Right.
No Effects had finally kind of taken off after being around since the frickin' 80s? They'd been around forever.
Yeah.
Less Than Jake has always been to me that mixture of it's part rancid, but it's that kind of punk that doesn't take themselves seriously. The fun punk, which I think helped jumpstart a lot of other, like Blink-182s and Bowling for Soup
Yeah.
and those sort of bands. When did you start getting into this band that you love so much?
I got into them. My brother, I don't know if he gave me the album or I bought the album or I stole the album, but it was Hello Rockview. So 98 is right when I got into them and then moved on from there, went to Warped Tour in 99, saw them there.
That seems about right. And then did you go backward or forward? Pezcore 95, Losing Streak 96.
Yeah.
Hello Rockview 98.
Yeah. I did go back to Losing Streak, but then moved forward. Honestly, not any Pezcore until studying for this.
Which is a really good album.
Yeah, very underrated.
You mentioned Warped Tour.
Yeah,
And you said, well, that was 99?
that was 99.
This is one of those bands that was just made for... Other way around, maybe Warped Tour was made for bands like this.
Yeah. That was the year Blink was headlining. Then I saw Eminem, who ruled. But also they had Bouncing Souls, Vandals, Dropkick Murphys. So it was very much this
Man.
vibe that year. And it was fucking fabulous. It was so good.
Yeah, so we are talking to JR of Less Than Jake. He's going to be on in about 15 minutes, so we're just going to chat a little bit first, and then when he comes on, we're going to grill him. We're going to ask him a bunch of questions. So JR, it's going to be an interesting story. I'm really excited for this interview because Less Than Jake, everybody knows who they are. They've been around now for
31 years?
what about 30 years.
Yeah.
He wasn't an original member. He came in at about 2000. At 2000?
Yep.
2002. He's been part of Less Than Jake for 20 years, but he also wasn't one of the founding members. And I'm interested to hear that side of something like this. When you come into a band that is already so well established and they have such a strong fan base, if it takes a while to get comfortable, when they're still coming out with albums, which they've pumped out albums, like, do you become part of the writing process, or is there ever kind of stay out of the way sort of stuff? That stuff interests me a lot.
Yeah. And it was 2000. I don't know if you want to not say 2002 in front of him. I was just double checking the math, but it was in 2000 was when he joined. His first album was 2002, but he joined in 2000.
Oh, so he graduated from Berkeley.
Yeah, he went to Berkeley School of Music.
And then went directly there in 2000. And then he ran a management company from 2002 to 2009. Yeah, solo stuff we're going to ask him about. This was a fun guy to research.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
Really has.
These guys are real busy, though. They do not sit still.
I wish there was a way to find how many shows total a band has done.
I can only imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
Is your brother a really big Less Than Jake fan?
He is, yeah. He's pretty
Did
jealous.
you tell him about this?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been pumping me up.
Pumping you up.
You can do this. You're smart.
I want to ask him about Silver Linings, their most recent album. Have you listened to that?
Yep. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yes, is the short answer. It's so different because the primary writer, the lyricist for their entire discography, and then to have other people take over, it's very different writing compared to the other. And it's not as silly.
No.
And so
I think that's kind of something I wanted to talk to him about.
And it's not bad. It's different.
Yeah.
It's just not what I'm used to.
You know what it is? It's a fucking COVID album is what it is.
Well, there is that. It was recorded before COVID though, right? And then it just got I think it got released.
I think they recorded it in 2019.
Yeah.
But then it didn't release until last year.
2020. End of 2020.
But no, you're right. It is
recorded November, December 2019. Yeah.
A very different feel than they'd had before. I do like it. I don't own it on vinyl because it's sold out. So I'm going to give a nice little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to him about that too. Before he's on, let's go through the tough questions that we might not want to tell him about. Rachel, what's your favorite Less Than Jake album?
Hello, Rockview.
Your first one.
Yeah. And it's back to that theory of like, that's where I fell in love. And so it's my favorite. It's not, and I don't ever say this as I think it's the best. It's the one that I love the most. So
the Warped Tour that you saw them, was that the only time you've seen them live?
That is the only time I've seen them live.
What was the show like?
Awesome. Like that whole Warped Tour was my first witnessing of anything punk rock in person. And so many bands, punk rock bands, ska bands put out live stuff. And especially these days, it's very easy to find YouTube videos and live stuff so you can kind of get the feel for what they're like. Yeah. I had no concept of what it was going to be like. And the amount of energy that they have and they pull from the audience and give back, it's hard to describe. Like it's amazing, 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 amazing.
What I like about Less Than Jake is it's an extremely positive energy.
Yeah.
It's not the violent, grungy, diving in mosh pits and stuff, but you have like tons of fans just jumping up on stage and dancing. And they're always like throwing random shit into the audience and not anything bad. We're talking like drinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wait a minute.
What's your favorite album?
Probably this one, See the Light, behind me.
Oh, okay.
It is a very good mixture of, it's still that very, very positive Less Than Jake vibe. But it feels like they started, as far as production, they started working more into the like whole wall of sound.
Yeah.
Like the guitars are bigger. The songs are a little more structured. The brass lines great. Like, I really, really like that album. I have Anthem behind me too that I really love, but I do like their old stuff. I like Losing Streak, Hello Rockview. If you're talking about one Less Than Jake album, it's Rockview.
Right.
Like, I feel like that was when they really hit.
Yeah,
That time was made for bands like this.
for sure. Did you get to listen to Bees for B-sides at all? That one's
Is it
just
awesome?
like, it's really good. It's really, really punk.
I like punk.
There's a song that's like 47 seconds and it's just so punk rock that it's great. I think you should listen to that one.
What you said? It's what?
B is for B-sides. A little less ska maybe, and then still really dirty.
When are you going to be in Europe? Aren't you going there for your honeymoon or something?
Yeah, Trevor's planning it though, so probably not.
Oh.
He won't let me plan it.
When is that going to be, though?
Right after the wedding. So right before 4th of July. June 24th is the wedding.
Oh.
So then probably the week after.
I was just going to say, they're playing the 15th through the 18th in France
Of July?
of June.
Oh, of June.
And they're playing in Belgium on the 17th and Switzerland on the 10th.
You know who's going to be in London, though, around that time at a festival?
In your area? Yeah. That's actually, I like that shirt. Do they have, is that on their website?
This one? I think so.
You better hope it's not licensed. He gets on, he's like, oh, who the fuck made that
Oh,
shirt?
I don't know. Shit.
Hope Trevor didn't get that on Etsy. 9 studio albums, sax and backing vocals. I watched a fairly good amount of live stuff.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not going to say JR's got the best voice in Less Than Jake, but I think he kind of has the best voice in Less Than Jake. Just saying. No offense to Chris or anything like that, but that dude's, we've talked about it in other interviews. Backup vocals are hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to do that whole harmonizing thing. And he does it very well.
He does, and it doesn't seem like his voice has lived a life, if that makes any sense. Like Roger and Chris sound like rock stars.
Well, I think Roger and Chris have to do the screamy,
Yeah.
where JR's gets to do the falsetto-y sort of stuff.
That stuff, yeah.
They're a fun band to look at do their thing. For as long as they've been in the industry, for as much energy they bring to their shows, and
Yeah.
it's really fucking cool. We're about to be joined by JR. I'm bringing him in, Rachel. Stay cool.
Delete that last part.
Just keep it frosty, Rachel.
Welcome home, outcast, because I know how you have felt over the years. The truth is that looking at me is like looking in the mirror, and I know how it feels to be the best part of a running joke to all of your friends and to be.
How you doing, JR?
I'm very well.
Thanks for joining us. This means a lot to us.
Yeah, of course. It's been a super crazy couple of weeks, but I am at your disposal for as long as time allows.
Perfect. We appreciate it. I'm David. This is Rachel. We are very, very excited to get to talk to you. Do you like to go by JR?
I go by whatever anybody really wants to call me.
And it
JR is absolutely fine. I respond to that the same way I would respond to my birth name. So
your birth name. I didn't realize actually Rachel just taught me where you got the name JR from. I didn't even realize where it came from. So
yeah, it's a mythological lore of Less Than Jake now, of where why do they call this guy JR? It has nothing to do with his name.
we think we know now, and we feel much smarter for it.
Well, I'd
Yeah.
like to probably know your version of what you heard, and then I can confirm or deny it.
Absolutely.
That you are the junior of the Pete's. Of
That was basically that was the amount of thought that went into it.
Yeah. We can't have two Pete's.
We can't have two Pete's, so you're the junior of the Pete's, so we'll just call you
Yes.
JR.
That
You
makes
got it
sense.
right, Rachel.
Cool.
Yay.
Yeah,
Woohoo.
whatever.
I know some things.
It's funny that the original Pete, as I like to call him, he was only in the band after I joined like maybe another year, and then he quit, and then the JR thing just stuck.
Just stuck. You're still stuck with JR.
Well, I have friends of mine to this day, and they don't know what my real name is. You know, it's fucking JR. You know,
Let's
that's
go on
fine.
Wikipedia. It's right there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You know, like again, if you're friends with somebody, I don't know if you're Googling your friends. You know, I don't. Maybe
That's
some
fair.
people,
Good
yeah.
point. So we are talking to JR sax player of
Okay.
I'm always recording. We can
all right.
start however you want.
Yeah,
It doesn't
this
matter.
is great. That's how I want to start. Whatever. Me
Good.
fumbling to try to figure out how to work the audio and figuring it out and going.
I'm a good editor. Nobody will ever know.
Yeah, I really feel like a boomer in that situation right there. Okay, good.
You're in your nice comfy chair with the lamp lighting.
I am. I tried to like make when I sat here, it was much brighter. It's a smart bulb because I'm stupid, so I have a lot of smart things around me. And I told the voice device, I think that the talking devices are awesome, like the Google Pucks and the Alexas and whatever they call those things.
Yeah.
I don't care that they're listening in on me all the time because I don't really have anything to hide. So
yeah.
That's fair.
If they're coming after me, I'm pretty good with it. And
Cool with it.
yeah, I think it's cool that I can just talk to the space and tell it to turn on lights and stuff that now has become so. Now I'm like, oh, I got to turn that light on. I have to. Oh, God, that's so much work.
So much work.
Why let technology not work for you? Right.
That's what we're doing with music and podcasts now. We can do it with our house, too.
That's right. Smart everything.
You joined Less Than Jake, 22 years ago in 2000, right?
Yeah, you put numbers to it. That's how many years. It feels like a lot longer, to be honest with you, but yeah, it's been 22 years.
What were you doing before that? You were in the music industry.
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I was on my way out. I was in a band prior to Less Than Jake called Spring Heeled Jack, and we were based in Connecticut, and the band still exists. They tour and they're awesome. I mean, we put out some pretty fun records back in the 90s.
I gotta say, I went and listened to them getting ready for this interview. The brass in those albums, in Static Worldview and Songs for Suburbia, those are the two that you did, right?
Yes.
The brass is fucking incredible in those albums.
Thank you.
You guys had great brass in that.
Yeah, I'll take a third of the credit for that. The other three of that were Chris Rhodes, who was, up until recently, he was the trombone player for the Mighty Mighty Bosstones.
Yeah.
Our trumpet player, his name was Tyler Jones, and he was in Real Big Fish once Spring Heel Jack broke up. The first entity of Spring Heel Jack broke up. We all scattered, the horn players. I went to Less Than Jake, Rhodes went to the Bosstones, and Tyler went to Real Big Fish. Unfortunately, lost Tyler in 2020, and I miss him fucking terribly every day. But yeah, that particular time period, we could do another podcast just on that time period of my life. But those two dudes and myself, we were a pretty good horn section. I can say so, like 20 plus years later, listening back to that stuff going, because I know that we recorded all of that section stuff in one day.
That's insane.
Yeah. So that was before Pro Tools,
So you said that you were kind of on your way out.
We were playing our last show as a group, and I was student teaching at the time. I was finishing up my degree at Berklee College of Music. I have a music education degree, bachelor's, that I don't talk about too much, but I have it.
That's not too bad of a school to have it from either.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I got the Gucci instead of the Levi's jeans. You know what I mean? When it comes to my music education degree. And so I was finishing that up, the student teaching, and I really enjoyed teaching, and I was teaching at this school in Newton, Massachusetts, and the teacher there at the time, he really liked me, and like he said, you should stick around. I'll make a job for you. I don't have a job for you, but I'll make one for you. You're good. You get along with the kids really good. And to be honest with you, I was getting the same fulfillment in my life teaching kids about music as I was performing, or at least equivalent to me at the time. And so that's what it's always about. My life has always been about like making other people's lives better as well as myself. You know what I mean? So Vinny, our former drummer, reached out to me from a mutual friend and said, hey, would you, he called and he's like, would you be interested in trying out for Less Than Jake? And at the time I wasn't.
So this was like 99-ish?
2000.
They were pretty well established at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they had just finished recording Borders and Boundaries.
Okay.
Right, in a musical time frame. And Darren, their sax player, decided that was it for him, and they were looking for sax players. And so a mutual friend had mentioned me from them, and had mentioned me, and they called me. And I wasn't really interested. I wasn't really a fan at the time. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not speaking ill of where I'm at. Like, I just. I think everybody thinks that people listen to, like, you're in a ska band, you must listen to ska music all the time. And I really like wasn't really a huge punk rock fan. I wasn't really, there's things that I liked. I was 23 years old. I certainly was just probably thinking I was cooler than I actually was. And I was listening to other stuff, I just wasn't listening to that. And so I wasn't really familiar with it. I knew a couple of songs, like I knew Automatic,
Like the
right?
rock yeah.
Losing Streak. And I wasn't even really familiar with Hello Rockview, which ended up becoming like my favorite record when I was listening to it. And so I was like, I was kind of quick, and maybe I don't know, with Vinny, I was just like, maybe I'm like, I don't really have any of your guys' stuff. So he sent me some CDs, and they went to tour in Europe. And this was before the cell phones were like readily available in Europe. So they were kind of like untouchable. Like I couldn't get in touch with them. And then they were coming back, and I was scheduled to go down for tryouts, And so I remember putting one of the CDs in, and I was like sitting there and I'm going, am I really doing this? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I, I'm going to put this time into all this time and effort into it, and I might not even get the gig. I don't really even like the band. Like, so what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like that's the thought that's going through my brain at the time.
Yeah.
It was my brother who called me, and I was living in Boston, and he was living in somewhere else in Massachusetts, or maybe he was still at home. I can't remember. And I was like, I got this weird call today with, I got these CDs that came in the mail. He's like, for what? He's like, well, I had a tryout for this band. He's like, what band? I'm like, Less Than Jake. He goes, holy shit. What are you kidding? I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to do it or what. He's like, we out of your mind. You fucking crazy. He goes, those guys like whatever, Capitol Records, the big song. Yeah. And I was like, didn't care. Like, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't matter. That's just how I'm kind of wired, or at least I was wired at the time. So he kind of talked me into it, and I gave it the old college try, as they say. And like, I'll never forget it. I lived in Boston, and I worked at a restaurant, and I cooked on the line till 4 a.m. I went home, I took a shower, and I went to Logan Airport. I got on a plane, and I flew into Gainesville with no sleep. Landed about noon. Chris and Vinny picked me up at the airport. We drove right to Buddy's house and started playing. They were just like, all right, show us your wares. And I played Last One Out of Liberty City in Buddy's living room with Buddy, old Pete, Chris, and Vinny. Played through it once. Chris and Vinny go, cool, see you guys later. Not, hey, that was good. Hey, that was bad. They just walked up. And I was like, with these two dudes that I've never met before, I was there for several hours on no sleep, probably still smelling like a fucking kitchen. And I remember I got back to the hotel that afternoon or something, and I just slept till the next morning. I didn't listen to any new songs or try to even fucking think about what was happening. I was just so tired and like just drained,
So they didn't say anything to you that first day?
No word. And like,
man,
I remember before I went down, I called Vinny and I said, geez, man, I don't know if I'm going to do what you guys want. And he goes, well, you're either going to be here for 3 days or 2 weeks. So I packed for 2 weeks. I knew I kind of knew I was going to be there. So here I am.
So how long until they were like, yeah, it's definitely you?
I mean, they took me out. Like, there was only one other person that tried out, and I hear he didn't do that hot. Pretty quick. And I think it was just, I came from a good place. I had already had experience touring, pretty easy going. At least I thought I was. Maybe it's different now, but.
So do you think you would have just stuck with education if you wouldn't have gotten into this?
Yeah, probably. I don't think back about what would have been if I chose a different route or road. I just kind of live in the present, and I'm happy that I live in this present because it is a gift. It is a gift, the way that my life turned out.
Joining Less Than Jake when you did, this is a pretty big time with them. Warp tours are a huge thing, and they're kind of in the perfect time frame for that style of band. How long did it take you to get comfortable, to feel like I am part of this band now?
Probably the first tour when we were on, I didn't really know those guys, I got lucky because they really ended up being like great people, you know what I mean? And I think that's really a lot more important, a sort of bigger picture sort of way than if they were just like a really, great bunch of musicians and making this mind altering next level fucking progressive whatever music I thought I wanted to make at the time. I just got really lucky, and like I said, I am kind of just easing myself into a lot of situations, and I'm pretty laid back and pretty easygoing about stuff. So I just got lucky that it worked out. And so I'd say probably like the first tour that we did was 9 weeks. To this day, that's the longest tour I've ever done.
Really?
Or we've ever done. It was forever. Oh my God, it was forever. Yeah, after 9 weeks of being with those dudes, I was like, yeah, we're gonna be fine. I can live with you guys, and like they had all been together for so long at that point that like I knew what everybody's shortcomings were because it was like a joke, and it's how they approached it, like, oh, this guy's gonna sleep all day, and this guy picks up after himself. And you just like after you're with them for a couple weeks, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that yeah, like I've also always like kind of studied people. I know that sounds kind of like serial killer, but I mean,
My brain did not go there, actually.
I mean, like, no, I like study people and their tendencies and like what they do and how they react and how they respond and body actions. And
Can you tell which one of us is a sociopath yet?
no,
Okay.
you guys
Just
are both
checking.
you seem pretty not a lot of hell going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at least in like a musical situation, in a musical setting, like you kind of want to know what roles are, if there are established roles. And so that was it. Is like I was basically joining a family. I was like a adopted kid, and you just trying to figure out how, everybody already had established relationships and knew each other for a long time. And here I am, like the new guy, and you're just trying to figure out how you fit in. And so the easiest way I've always learned, because I've always been the new guy in my band from like day one, the first band I was ever in, I was always just the new guy, and I learned just to kind of sit back and shut up, speak when spoken to kind of thing. That's hard for a lot of people. They want everybody wants to be heard. Like I could give a fuck. That's you want to hear, if you really care what I want or what I think, you'll ask me. And if you don't, not worth your time or mine for that matter to
like
verbalize it, because if you don't really care, don't waste anybody's time,
That vibe seems to fit extremely well with the vibe of the band. I'm using the word vibe too much, but there's such before you got on, Rachel and I were talking about just how much of a positive energy there is with Less Than Jake, and how Rachel, talk a little bit about the Warped Tour, because I think that's a really, really great story that lets people know the vibe that Less Than Jake has.
Right. This was before your time. So this was 99. So just right before you joined. That was when Blink 182 was the headliner. And so you had Vandals, Bouncing Souls, Dropkick Murphys were there as well. And this was my brother had given me Hello Rockview to listen to, and I fell in love, and I was so excited to see you guys play. And I remember loving it and loving the amount of energy that you guys had and that you pulled from the crowd and gave back to the crowd. And it was awesome. And then a couple hours later, I went to Less Than Jake and I got
Blink.
Oh, sorry, Less Than Jake. Blink.
Yeah, it's like
My
the
brain.
same thing, I guess.
It's not. No, it wasn't, because I went to Blink 182 that evening and it was not a nice crowd. I am not a big girl, and I just got the shit kicked out of me pretty quickly being in that crowd. And so I had to bounce and go sit on a grassy knoll, but I felt very safe in your crowd with your fans, and it was just awesome. That's all.
Well, that's cool. That's nice to hear, because it is something that we walk a fine line with that sort of stuff, because we want our fans to feel safe, and we want our fans to all have fun. But we also want to make sure that everybody is allowed to have fun in the way that they want to have fun. So sometimes people kind of act out a little bit more and they're a little more physical. And so we try to make sure that those people have their moments. And I think that it's equally as important that people who just want to dance and smile and have a good time and like, or just kind of stand off to the side, but still be involved. Those people should have their moments too. Like whatever makes you happy, should be important. And like, I think that we're lucky that we have a very respectful crowd, a crowd that's respectful of one another, that's cool to me, because we don't like demand that kind of stuff at all. Like we're not like, you be nice and you be kind. And we're always just like, hey, we should all have the best fucking time, and like, you should try to give the person that's next to you as much of a good time as you're having. And, if occasional brawls break out here and there, but it's never, we always stop it and just go, what are you guys doing? You two kiss right now, yeah, no, make out, it's like, whatever. But that's the thing. It's like, everybody takes things so seriously, and like it's not supposed to be serious. Life isn't serious all the time, and like if it is, like, boy, what a horrible life. That's
Yeah.
for that hour and 15 minutes or hour and a half or whatever, when we're on stage, everybody should be allowed to enjoy that the way that they want to enjoy it, and like, I don't care who you are, how you feel. I want you, if you're going to come to a Less Than Jake show, we as an entity, as a group of guys, wants you as a person to feel that you're able to express yourself, be yourself, and have a good time and not be judged or not be felt like you're weird, or because we're all fucking weird. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just it's what you think is weird is not what I think is weird. And I think it's all beautiful. So that's, I think that that's a thing that we've tried to get across to our fans, that that's who we are, like in real life. And hopefully it comes back. So there's always some people who get mad or push back or say that we're something or one thing or another. And like, everybody's allowed there and entitled to their opinion, and you can't make everybody happy all the time, but we certainly try to give everybody who feels like they need to be heard, we listen.
Does that positive energy that you guys exude when you're live or on your albums and that sort of thing, does that just come naturally because of the type of people you are, or is it something that you've had conversations about? We want to have this energy in our songs, and by writing lyrics, I want it to be kind of more this style than this style.
Yeah, there's always a direction. We always have a thought of what we want, the big picture of what we want to say. And I think that that's important, because as a group or as a band or as an artist in general, whatever term you want to use, there's only a certain amount of things that you can actually control. And one of those things you can control is your message, and what you want to say and what you think needs to be spoken about. And a lot of times sometimes what needs to not be spoken about, I think that might be even more of a, an important conversation sometimes, for some bands, especially as we get older. There's nothing worse than getting older and being considered out of touch, so just want kind of stick to what guys stick to, people, they always say, stay in your own lane. And I am perfectly fine staying in the Less Than Jake lane, like we're always going to try to push the envelope musically as we do to be the best version of our band that we can be. And I feel like that's so cliche to say it, but that really is our goal every time we create new music. But yeah, you want to make sure that you pay attention to the message and what you're getting across, and making sure that we say what we want to say and it comes across, that it's authentic more than
I feel like it has to come across as authentic for you to have been this popular for this long. People keep coming to your shows for decades now. If you weren't authentic, I don't think that you guys would have been around this long.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's not like we sit around and go, how are we going to be considered authentic? It's not, it's not like that's like a topic of conversation that happens. It's just one of those things that, like, I feel like if we started talking about like big booties and fucking drug dealings and, like, I just think it would it just wouldn't come off as who we really are. It would just be like we were trying to like be something that we're not, And I think that happens sometimes, not so much in older acts, but maybe like younger acts that are coming up and trying to figure it all out. It's just, we are who we are. We're kind of we don't think about it. We're not like, geez, I really think Chris should start talking more about, his mom's wig collection on stage. We're not talking enough about that, like.
Well, your most recent album, Silver Linings, it's a little more serious than normal. Not in like a deep thoughts sort of way. Rachel and I were talking, and I kind of thought it was a COVID album because there was so much introspection in the lyrics.
It was written before COVID.
Exactly. That's what she said. So it's a little more.
Silver Linings is our requiem, and I don't mean it as like
go.
A thing where it's like this is the final thing we're ever going to say, but it's also like the first record that we created where it was not one person's voice in the lyrics. For a long time, Vinny was the words. He was the wordsmith, and
right.
He, for the longest time, like he was the guy who penned, I would say, upwards of 90% of the lyrics up to a certain point in our career. You know what I mean? And things started kind of switching where more people were involved with lyric writing, but this was kind of like the end and the beginning Silver Linings. It was kind of
Hmm.
the end of how it was and the beginning of what it is and what it will be. So you're getting, instead of one person's perspective, you're getting 3 different people's perspectives that you've heard our voice in lyrics, but not fully. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's just a different, it's this, the songwriting is still pretty much the same. Like the key music writers are still there. It was just, you know, Vinny did a good portion of the lyrics and he came up with a lot of the themes and stuff that became so important to like who we are. And so the idea of being in a place where you don't feel like you fit in and feeling like you need to get out, a lot of the getting aways. And for this was a lot of like us coming back and reeling it back in to now we are back to where we wanted to leave, but we're older and these things are kind of important to us now. You know, the things that were important to us when you're in your 20s aren't specifically the same things that are important to you when you're in your 40s, you know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you can only write what you know, and you can't really, it seems inauthentic to write about things that are no longer familiar to you because they've become your past, you know. So
Mhm.
you have to find some sort of balance in that, especially with the change in how we started creating music for this new record. So we're really pleased with it. You know, I'm really proud of it. And I think
It's a great album.
yeah, I think we did better than any of us thought we were going to do too, you know, and that was the thing. But it's like trusting in each other and trusting in the fact that, you know, we can do this. And like I said, it was a big change, you know, because Vinny is still and was such a huge part of who our band is, you know what I mean? The identity of who Less Than Jake is. It's been different without him and we certainly miss him, but you know, things have to evolve, you know.
Yeah.
People have to evolve and they have to do what's right for them and their family. And so, you know, we certainly miss him and we miss his input, but we are very happy now with our new drummer, with Matt Yonker. He has been around forever and ever, and he is fucking fantastic. And he did such a good job on this record. Like,
Yeah.
just, you know, it musically, we've took a step forward on this record. So I was stoked about that. And it's cool to be able to continue to make records that people like 30 years into your career.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Where people go, oh wow, this is pretty good. Like, 30 years. Almost got it.
Did you help write lyrics on Silver Linings?
Yeah, I wrote a couple of the songs. Dear Me is one of the songs that I wrote. And
Okay.
majority of the lyrics there. And oh geez, Move, that was another one I wrote pretty much everything of. So, you know, and like like lyrically speaking, and there's always people that help, like Chris helped and Roger helped, and everybody has their hands in it, and we shape it together. Those are the best songs, the ones that everybody kind of takes a little piece of and fixes.
When you come into an already established band and you become a part of it, particularly somebody that's been a part of it for so long, and you've come out with multiple albums, what is the writing process there? Are you, before Silver Linings, were you a pretty big part of the writing process, or do you stick to writing your parts? Or
I just eased my way in. I wormed my way in as much as they would let me. You know, like, it's kind of like when one of our old sound guys used to have a great thought where he said, I don't do too much, because if I do a lot at a new job, people come to expect a lot. If you just kind of ease your way in, then people are constantly impressed. Smart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're constantly impressed. Like,
I'll write that down.
You do this, you know, you can do this. Oh my goodness. You know, like when we did In With the Outcry with Howard Benson, I was singing a lot of backups on that record. And Howard had me up in the booth, and it's the recording studio was weird. It was like where you sang your vocals is like a closet, literally a closet. And he's on your ear, you hear him on the earphones, and he's in some other room somewhere in the building. Can you sing this? And he'd like play these 2 notes on the piano, and I'd sing it as well as I could. He'd be like, how about this? And then, you know, just like, I was like, what is this? Like a fucking game or something? He's like, no, I just think it's amazing that you can sing all of these parts. He goes, you're just kind of all over the place. And you know, well, you sing high, you could sing low or whatever. I just want to see what your range is. I'm like, yeah, good question. I don't know. You figure it out. We found out what it was. It was an F over middle C. So that was, or F sharp over middle C. I was like, I can't say.
One of the things that we've talked about a few times on this podcast is how much, I guess I'll say, more difficult it is to sing backup vocals than just being a lead vocals.
Yeah.
You are an incredibly good backup vocalist.
Thanks.
I've watched a lot of live stuff preparing for this, listening to the albums. I mean, you hit it wherever you need to hit it, even towards the end of a show when everybody's sweaty and tired and shit, and you're on point. It's really impressive.
Thanks, man. Sheryl Crow was a backup vocalist for Michael Jackson.
There you go.
You know what I mean? You can,
Love her.
yeah. So I mean, like I'm not calling Chris or Roger Michael Jackson. I sure as shit ain't. But it's something I kind of pride myself to do, you know, and I want to make sure that when we record and we do things that I'm singing same inflections. I try to look to see how they enunciate words. Like, it's important, that kind of stuff. And I try to be consistent, you know, and sometimes I really think I'm not that good, but I just keep working at it. It's like any other thing. You got to just keep working at it. So I appreciate the kind words, but it's work. That's for sure.
So you've done a couple of solo things.
Oh, those don't count.
Where does the name the Stay at Home Joneses come from?
I don't know. I was probably drunk. Oh, it was the Traveling Wilburys. It was the antithesis of the Traveling Wilburys was the Stay at Home Joneses. That was what I thought. I had to think about that first. I'm like, I don't fucking remember. Oh yeah. I was listening during that time. I was listening. I had found the Traveling Wilburys Volume 3, I think is what it is. There was only the 1 or 2 records that they did.
Yeah.
Man, that's such good stuff, you know, and I was listening to it a lot, and I had this vision of like doing this song, version of this song with a bunch of friends, and how the thing was going to be. And, you know, I just did the one song for a Drive-Through Records comp. It was like a tribute to Bob Dylan.
Times are changing, and it's fucking awesome. It's
I mean,
it's a
I think
great
it probably
cover.
sold 22 copies. The people who ran Drive-Through Records were such big Bob Dylan fans, and I was too. And I was like, well, the only reason I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this song. And they wanted like something corporate, or one of the, like Andrew McMahon wanted to do it or something like that. And I already grabbed it, and I was like, fuck that guy. And like, I was really happy with how that version came out. And Roger just happened to be in town that day when I recorded it. I don't know, like we did it all. This was before you could do like remote recordings, you know. We just were all in the studio. So it was a fun project, you know, but yeah, that's where the name came from.
COVID. The COVID era, because you guys are like you said, it sucks, right?
Hated it.
Yeah, I know very few people that are fans of COVID. 9-week tour is the most you ever did, but you guys are also very well known for your live appearances. What did you do during COVID?
Watch The Office like 20, full. When it first all happened, I think we were all under the guise that it was gonna end fast. You know, like, oh, it's just gonna be a couple of weeks and we'll be back to, well, everybody's got to stay inside for like 3 weeks. All right, everybody's just got to stay inside for like 3 months. Okay, everybody's just got to stay inside for like the rest of this year. And, you know, it's nerve-wracking. You didn't know what was going on. Like, the information sources became befuddled with stupidity, and like you're just trying to like keep the people you love alive, right? And I'm going to myself, how are we going to pay bills? Like, how are we going to stay low? You know, we're not going to get huge PP. Like, I didn't get a $1 million PPP loan. I think they sent us like $5,000. You know,
you're in an industry.
Where shit. Like, and we were the last. We're the first ones that everybody wants when they're sad, and the last ones anybody thinks about when things go to shit. You know, and so
that's well said.
We figured out ways to generate income not being on tour, you know, like different new ways to create new merchandise, and like we tried experiments of things, and you know, we figured out a good little way to keep money coming in. We did some like online shows, you know, with the money that we made, we took it and reinvested it, so it kind of kept things afloat. But yeah, I mean, we had Zoom calls every week just to like talk about things that were not really going to happen, because, you know, there were all these tours that were supposed to happen, and they all just got canceled and rebooked and canceled and then rebooked again and then just canceled. And it was a weird time because you're like, when we felt it was time to maybe go back out on tour, like we went out the end of 2021 with Newfound Glory as a support, but that was because them and Simple Plan were supposed to go on a co-headliner tour, and Simple Plan pulled out 2 weeks before the tour. And Chad called me, and they all called our people and were like, we really need you guys to come out. And like, we weren't planning on touring, but we did. And people subsequently, people got COVID, and it was right during the height of the Delta variant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mask mandates were, who fucking cares? You know what I mean? And it was state to state, and like people were exhausted from the masks at the time. You know what I mean? And like, dude, I get it. I was too. It had been over a year at that point. And we were constantly questioning: is this the right thing to do? Are we doing the right thing? But eventually, you have to just go, well, what's right for me? And like, I guess where that whole personal freedoms thing comes into play, and it was hard because we had to have like a real talk amongst all of us, and not everybody wanted to go on tour. Just be perfectly blunt, but we had to have the conversation of like, well, if this doesn't happen, then we're not going to go until next year, and we have to make that's what's going to happen. And like, we went on the tour, and it was the right thing to do for us and for the thing. And there was a bunch of, it really was the first time the tour seemed like work, because of different protocols, and things changed day to day, and sometimes hour to hour, and like people were sick, and you had to stay in your bubble, and you didn't get to see your friend, or like I never saw the guys in Newfound Glory. I'd watch them on stage, kind of.
Wow,
that's like
crazy.
We didn't hang out until like towards the end. It was.
How are the crowds at those shows?
Fucking fantastic. You would have never known.
They needed it, I'm sure.
I was almost in tears a couple of shows. Like, you learn to, I think for such a long time it became, this is just going to keep happening, and then it didn't happen. And I think learn to appreciate more of what we had, or what we were allowed to have. And so when we toured this last year, it was great, like the old days, as they say.
Nice.
The positive things that came out of COVID, people be like, what positive things? Well, hygiene has upped its game quite a bit.
Yeah.
The fact that people are now more respectful to a point. Some people are more respectful now of, if you're sick, slap a mask on, or don't have to come to the party. It's cool. We don't want you here because you're going to get it. You always have like a percentage of society that's just jerks, and they're going to be jerks. I try not to think about those people, and I try not to acknowledge them either, because there's always people that just want to start shit because they have nothing better to do with their miserable existence. And
it's very true.
Yeah,
very true.
Not how I choose to live my life. And time is the most valuable substance that there is, because you can't replace it. It's non-renewable. Once it's gone, it's gone. So who you choose to spend it with and how you choose to spend it is really kind of important, especially the older you get.
With you having such a loyal and well-established fan base, pretty consistent in album purchases, that sort of thing, have you noticed a big difference in the Bandcamp, Spotify era of music? Have you guys had to change the way that you release music or tour?
Yeah, I think the approach is a little different. That's why we hired managers, to be honest with you, is to kind of figure out how to navigate through a modern industry right now, where we used to get monies from album sales, and now it spins on Spotify, and you have to get a hell of a lot more spins to make $1 than you did selling CDs and hard copies of your music. And then there's always somebody that's trying to steal from you, trying to sell less than Jake shirts online, trying to, you know what I mean? There's like the secondary market, you can't stop, but like when there's actually people on like websites printing and selling less than Jake shirts, then that's when you have to just go trademark, bitch, and like take it down, and like it, but it's just a lot of work, part of life these days. Again, the pandemic had the positives were we cleaned up a lot of mess in our backyard legally and that kind of stuff. So that's been positive,
I got one more touring question for you.
Okay.
The songs. So I love old Less Than Jake. I really, really love new Less Than Jake too. The new album's great. I love Anthem. Like, these albums behind me, I think, are fantastic. From your fans, do you get a lot of play the old stuff? Does it get annoying, or, people yelling out, play All My Friends Are Metalheads or stuff like that every show? No?
I mean, they can yell whatever they want. We've got these in-ear monitors now, so I can't hear shit they're saying. So they can yell, really scream your head off, bro. Scream your head off. No, I mean, sometimes you get that one drunk person that's just like, play Johnny Quest, and we'll be like, we already did, and like
Oh.
that's happened, like we did, and then there's been times that we'll just start playing it again, like it's just the moment. We don't script out the set, but there's a set list. Chris comes up with a set list. Everybody adds their 2 cents to it during the day, and then that's it. We try to stick to the list because we're trying to put on a show. The thing is, different between then and now is now we have production cues. Things happen during the set. Like back then, it's like, hey, whenever our dude wants to jump up with the ET mask and start throwing Pez out to people, do it. It's a little different now because there's like
all the cues that you have to go through.
Cues to keep a flow of a show. You have to have these.
Do you miss that? Do you miss not having those cues?
No, I don't, because then it's not chaos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think like part of evolution of what a live band is, like if it starts in chaos and it remains in chaos, well, then it won't last very long. So you have to kind of move it forward a little bit. And so we figured out ways to grow the band by making the band grow up of how we perform on stage and how we pay attention to things and how the set flows and when things happen, and like, is this the point of the climax? Is this it? And then, we think about it, and then we videotape the first couple of sets of every tour, and it's not videotape now, it's just phone. But,
Yeah.
Right.
And we watch
know what
it.
you meant.
We see how the light cues are, and you see how you want it to see how it looks, because I'm not watching, I'm playing. I've always said, geez, I would love to see my band play someday. It would be awesome to see what it's like. I guess you have to pay attention to it. You don't have to. It's everybody runs their band the way they run their band. We just choose to pay attention to that stuff because we're paying for it. So
Might as well.
Yeah, might as well if you're paying for it.
Probably not, judging by our conversations. But do you ever think about the fact that you are in a band that really has paved the way for a lot of artists? Last year, we talked a lot about a band called the Interrupters that I think pulls a lot from your style, that style.
We didn't do shit for anybody. We've always done what we've done. And if we think bands are good, we've taken them out on tour. I think we've given people advice or tried to help people, younger bands. We want to see younger bands, people that we like. We want to see them succeed. We don't like to see people get taken advantage of. So we try to take out bands that we think deserve it because they work hard. We try to take out bands that we like. If they happen to turn into the Interrupters, that's cool. But we didn't turn them into the Interrupters. They did that for themselves. So I don't take any credit for anybody else's achievements, except my one friend, Anthony, who co-wrote Shallow, that song Shallow with Lady Gaga, and he won the Oscar for all that. Yeah, he co-wrote that song with her. And I did for a time, because him and I have been friends since we were kids, like childhood, right? And I have friends that have won awards, but never like a friend like that, like where we actually work together. And I did for a time say to people, did you hear we won the Oscar? Yeah, I mean, I don't take credit for other people's achievements. They earned those, not me.
We'll let you go soon. I have a couple, I call them my pain in the ass questions.
If one of them is, where did you get the name of the band from? This interview's over.
Let me just cross it off really quick. No.
That's the only one. That's the one.
If you can name one most influential artist or song or album or whatever for you, what would
Everything Sucks by the Descendants.
Oh.
Today, tomorrow, change, but
who knows tomorrow?
Everything Sucks by the Descendants is one of those records I probably have listened to 1,000 times, top to bottom. Never gets old.
No,
never
it's fantastic.
Never doesn't sound fresh. It always sounds great. Great songs, great songwriting, speaks to me, makes me tear up a little bit. Yeah,
it's
that one.
Fantastic. That's a good answer.
Thanks.
Do you have a favorite Less Than Jake album?
Silver Linings.
Oh.
I'm just really proud of that record. I'm proud of what we were able to do with it. I'm proud that 30 years in, we can put out music and people are still like, damn, those guys write some pretty good songs, Yeah, goddamn right we do. Work very hard for that too.
It's like you guys have been playing together for a long time or something.
Yeah, it's almost like we've been a band for 30 years. Come on down. Doesn't matter what time you get to the party, as long as you get to the party, right?
Do you have a favorite sax part in a Less Than Jake song that you play?
That's a good question.
There's so many songs.
There's the part in Scott Farkas Takes It on the Chin. No, in Big Crash. There's a part in Big Crash where the horn breaks. It's like right before the outro. The part goes, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Probably my favorite line to play live when we play that song. I always thought that line, like, and I didn't write it. I wasn't in the band. I was like, that's a good fucking line right there. So probably that one.
Do you have a favorite city that you like to play?
They all have their moments. I probably, you know what? I always say like, oh, Tokyo, or it's probably Boston. Because every time we play in Boston proper, I went to college in Boston, and every time we play there, I fucking turn into a local yokel, and I jump on the T, and I go back to where I used to go get, breakfast when I was in college, and I go back my old Berkeley and walk through the campus, and I go check out record shops that I used to go to. So I'll say Boston.
Can you fake a Boston accent?
Nah, not really. No. Sometimes if I get up north, I have a little bit more of like a Southern, like a New York accent, because I'm from Southern Connecticut. So, I mean, I guess it just depends. It's the H replacement, where you replace a R with an AH. So instead of car, it's ka.
That's all the questions we have for you, JR.
Those are questions.
And then May, June, you will be touring in Europe.
Yes. We have a bunch of dates, festival dates that we've announced already, and we have some club dates we'll be announcing, and then there'll be a US tour in the summer that we'll be announcing soon-ish.
Awesome.
All kinds of fun stuff. So.
JR, we really, really appreciate you coming, talking to us. This has been really fantastic.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys. And right on the right time frame too, because I have a meeting with my managers, and they're going to get it today, boy.
Good.
No, not really.
No.
Well, thank you guys so much.
You okay?
Yeah.
Next time, shut up and let me talk a little bit. It wasn't that bad. Do I edit this out or do I leave it in? I think I leave it in.
No.
It's a good thing to be emotional, right?
No, that was good.
It's very obvious why they have such a good following and have such a positive vibe if they're all like that. So down to earth.
So nice.
Cool. How you doing, Rach?
Good. I kept it together so good.
Well, you did. You didn't say anything, but you did keep it together. You did. You looked pretty calm.
He said there were no tells. See? There we go.
See, here's the problem though, Rachel, is that we go through something like that, and I feel like the interviewee is probably like, why is this asshole not letting her say fucking anything?
I was thinking that too. Next time we could set the questions, and then you ask one, I ask one, you ask one, sort of back and forth sort of thing.
It's just hard because you see how it kind of has to be organic. Like you have to let it, Speaking of those live shows, bleep, bloop, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, we just talked to JR. That was fantastic. What a cool fucking guy. What a cool fucking band. Rachel, do you still like them?
There's that whole never meet your heroes thing, but he was so chill. For somebody as impressive as he is, as talented as he is, that's been around for as long as he has been, he was so nice and so respectful of all of our questions. And
I'm glad we didn't ask him where the name Less Than Jake comes from.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird to talk to somebody that you forget mid-conversation how long they've been around and how influential they actually are. Yeah. Because it didn't feel like that at all. Mm-mm. And even when you ask him about those groups, like we asked him about, he's like, no.
Well,
yeah, but.
And I think that you can, in that position, just think this is just what's happening in music. It's not necessarily, it's not me, it's not us. This is just how music is going. when it's like, no, music is going this direction because of you.
Yeah.
You have influenced all these people. And it's not to say like the Interrupters owe their career to Less Than Jake, because they don't at all. But you can't help but notice the imprint that they have made, I guess.
Yeah. That was very, very cool. Less Than Jake, go to lessthanjake.com. You can find all their shows coming up. Like I said, they've got a European tour. They have a couple festivals they're playing, I think, in like Belgium and that sort of thing. You can buy shirts from their website, which apparently, be careful, everybody. Do you think he was making a jab at your shirt?
No, because I looked it up because I was like, it seemed like he was jabbing at my shirt.
It kind of did.
And then I went on their website and it is on their website.
Thank God.
So
yeah, they're on Instagram. They have cool posts where they do like This Week in Less Than Jake, and they do like a quick little, this is what this guy's doing, and this is what this guy's doing. Their whole discography is great. I would recommend Hello Rockview and See the Light. Those would be the two. If you're Rachel, Hello Rockview, and
B is for B-sides.
B is for B-sides.
That's a fun one.
Rachel, one interview down this year, one to go. Are you relieved?
Yes. Hell yeah.
Silver Linings is their newest album. Go check it out. It's really fucking good. And that is Less Than Jake, everybody. Ooh. Join us next week. Our thanks again to Less Than Jake and JR. Two fans. You have made even bigger fans. You have turned one of them into a bumbling, crying mess.
Yeah, you pussy.
Good night and good luck.